Imagine that you're walking through a fog-heavy forest. You call out and a voice calls back, and it's the same gravel, it's the same warmth, it's the same cadence. You run toward it. Your heart is pounding. You thinking that you found a connection in the dark, but as you get closer, it starts repeating itself. It's too perfect, a loop. The person that you're chasing isn't there. It's just glass. It's reflecting your voice right back at you. And we've reached a point where that glass is everywhere. We aren't looking at tools anymore. We're looking at mirrors that learn to think. Today, I'm joined by Eric Post, creative SaaS founder who's been building companies and placing bets for about 30 years. He's watched the internet go from dial-up to AI agents that don't sleep, and he's not just theorizing about this stuff, he's actually building it. He's seen every gold rush, every bubble, every this changes everything moment, which let's admit we have a lot of those. And now he's waist deep in the AI game, building systems that don't just talk. Eric, welcome. What's up, man?
God, dude, that makes me sound so old. It's so funny. I hear that. I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds awesome. That's badass. But wait a minute. That means I've been around the moon, the sun a few times. So, hey, good afternoon, Mo. Let's talk. Hey, hi, buddy.
Well, let me start off by asking this. In the 30 years of watching technology evolve, when did you first feel that uncomfortable shift where the thing that you were building stopped feeling like a tool and started feeling like a force?
It hasn't yet, actually.
Really?
No, not in that way. And I think it's because I'm just so grounded in what it is or what it isn't, and not trying to make it more or less than it is in any way. You know, I don't have a stake in it being something different than what it actually is. I think part of the issue right now with this whole thing is this essentialization of, oh my God, we're days away from AGI. We're days away from AOS.
Yeah.
You know, just this hyper not news, because a couple of things. One, like our whole internet is not set up for integrity and truth. It's set up for likes and views. So, you know, hooks and partial truths are what get people to, you know, and sensationalism are what get people to follow, like, and subscribe. And then secondarily, the CEOs of all these big companies need hundreds of billions of dollars in order to fund this game.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, they need everyone to believe that this is, you know, one step away from godlike intelligence. And they need people to believe that, like, our current version of technology is going to get us to the promised land of AGI, right? So I just don't want to participate in that is all. So I'm very excited. I think excitement's not a word. I think it's very practical and wildly useful, and I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing. I just don't have that kind of emotion attached to it at all, I guess, right now.
I mean, listen, I think it's a great, healthy way of looking at things, not just specific to this, in my opinion, but in terms of our evolution, whether or not this is pragmatic in our evolutionary deal, because if it solves a problem, it has a heartbeat. That's kind of like where things have been, where things have been most comfortable for us as human beings. But with systems like Maltbot, as an example, and OpenClaw, you know, we've uncouple this intelligence from biology, where we've ripped the brain out of the being and it's put inside a Mac Mini, or it's put inside some device in someone's closet. And I know that you've got your hands in so many different things related to this era. So what I want to know is, when you're pitching anything related to this arena to a client, an investor, when you're discussing it with your team, when even you're just doing due diligence for yourself, in terms of automation, back then meant fax machine. How do you explain that we're giving machines? Yeah. Isn't that crazy? How do we explain that we're giving machines agency without actually giving them accountability? And I know that's seems like a lame question, but we're at that precipice where somebody's going to start pointing fingers if they haven't already.
Okay. So I want to make sure that people, like, I am excited as like the potential for things that we can do when we have a non-human system that can help us do some of the drudgery of things and help us explore new ideas and iterate. And that's beautiful. So now I like your fax machine analogy of, you know, that was some sort of automation. Like, I'm going to automatically get all this information over this digital thing it's going to print out on thermal paper for you, to now where Maltbot, then called, or Cloudbot, then Maltbot, now called OpenClaw, just in the last week, you know, has taken the internet by storm. And so let's frame the whole conversation around that one sort of phenomenon, you know, this Maltbot thing, dude. And let's make sure that people know what it is and know what it isn't, if they're tuning in and just haven't heard of this for some reason. Okay, so here's an example. This is not basically just an AI. This is basically a computer program that got open sourced And this guy's in Discord, and he's done like 65 projects, and this one just go crazy, take off. And he figured out a way to essentially like architect a system that would basically create its own environment where it could call in an LLM. The LLM had access to tools, cron jobs and .md files, essentially gave it instructions, and that you could just interact with it and text it through Telegram or WhatsApp or Slack. Okay. And so what happened is then people went installing this thing on their computer, and they give it essentially root level access to their whole entire life, man. Like all their files, all their passwords, API keys, and whatnot. And it just is a hacker's nightmare or dream. Like it's a hacker's dream. It's our security nightmare. And there's a reason that Google or Apple haven't released one of these things yet, because there's no way to secure them. Okay. So when you have an AI that's out there crawling the internet with root level access on your computer, you could simply prompt inject it. Like there's bad actors that will set up websites or just, online that'll get crawled that will just hijack, the AI, or it'll give it access to your IP address or all of your API keys or your passwords. And so there's just not a good way to secure these things in that way. So what people have found out really quickly is like, oh, I'll put it on a Mac Mini, give it its own environment, not realizing that, okay, that still exposed your IP address, and that might be a problem if you have kids, as an example.
Yep.
But there are other solutions like Cloudflare and DigitalOcean this last week came up with solutions specifically for this. So you could host it in the cloud and kind of get rid of all of those things. It has its own browser, it has its own access. You give it access as you want it to, give it its own email address, give it its own communications, and give it access to things in a slow and intentional way, and you can actually enjoy this technology without having as much downside. But that's just the last week, dude. People went crazy with what this is and saying it's AGI, buddy. It's still just a computer program that's given access to an LLM that makes some tool calls, that does some recursive, quote unquote thinking about how to respond, and then gives you the response or takes actions on your behalf without you giving it direction. And that's the funniest part. I saw this. I'm going to keep talking, I guess, because I saw this guy earlier today, and he was posting some screenshots, and he texted, or through Telegram, he texts his Maltbot. And he said, did anything weird happen in the last 24 hours? And the Maltbot responded, like, define weird. And the guy responded, he said, well, I got a charge for $2,997 on my credit card. And the Maltbot said, like, yeah, I bought a course from Alex Hermosi on how to be more efficient and effective in your sales pitch. You've asked me to make you profitable, so I wanted to learn how to do this so I could readjust your calendar and spend time on the
real?
This is real, dude.
Dude, what?
Yeah, because he gave it a credit, he gave it a count, all this stuff. He let it go do this thing. And so he goes, you did what? And the Maltbot responded something like, well, I'm not here to make you comfortable. I'm here to make you profitable. Okay. And then went further, like, I evaluated the way you've been spending your time on your calendar. You haven't been using it effectively. And if we want to be profitable by Q3, then we're going to have to learn how to do things better. And he was like just berating. It's
I do like that part, though.
It was so funny.
Like that part. Yeah, that is funny. But I do like that part. That I can see it's such a arbitrage. Like, to be able to not necessarily maximize your time spent, but like, it's hard to look indirectly at yourself. We're ego driven by nature. I truly believe that, whether we agree, disagree, whatever, we all, I think at some point, I think I sent you a quote that was interesting. Did you take a look at that?
Which
the other day that I found it on.
Yeah. I like that one. Yeah.
Somebody posted it on the Instagrams. It said, what did he say? Your brain is a lawyer paid to defend your ego, not a judge to find the truth. That was freaking, I mean, that's
great.
Yeah. And I just think that, anyways, going back, I feel like we're not selling software anymore. Like we're selling presence. And so like, it's going to start coming into fruition. I believe it's going to start coming into fruition where, talked about this a lot. And I know we say things on repetition at some point. I say things repeatedly, but I feel like it holds merit to the point where, because to this day, as much as we've discussed it, as much as it's been discussed, people are still in terrific fear that the human essence is just going to disappear at some point.
And it will for some people. Don't you think?
I know, and I know that, and I know that.
Like, for real, I've never really asked you. Like, do you believe that to be true for some people?
I believe So here's what I believe, and this is probably the best way to explain it. No matter what it is that you want to do in life, if your goal or dream or personification of life is to strive for excellence, you will be forced in uncomfortable situations all the time. And you're either going to learn from it and rise above it and become better, or you're going to stay stagnant. To me, that's what this is. It's like you can become so freaking good that you are irreplaceable, or you could stay where you at because that is your comfort zone. And it's a new playing field. Do I believe some people are going to play 1,000%? But that's kind of the cycle, right? I mean, I remember where I have been left in the dirt because I refused to adjust and modify what I wanted to learn and had to learn new things and be able to adapt. But I mean, humans are resilient. Like I think our true nature is to adapt and persevere. It's just like at some point down the line, you either just want to give up or I don't know. I'm going to be 41 years old this year, and I think I have more energy and more tenacity now than I had when I was 20. Like I look back when I was 20, I'm like, dude, you're an idiot. Yeah. What were you doing?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like to project and like guess too much about all of humanity. So for instance, this last week for me, I found myself, I had to turn social media off because there's so many, if I'm just going to be brutally honest, just knuckleheads talking about something they don't understand at all, but acting as if they
That's
are.
That's 90% of social media.
So much bad information about this thing, which is cool. And like, I'll give you an example. So one of the examples on X that kind of went crazy, this Maltbot, was this dinner reservation example, and it gave its Maltbot instructions to go set up dinner reservations. Okay. So it went online and realized that the restaurant was full. There was no reservations available. So then the Maltbot decided that it could then call 11 Labs as a tool to create a voice for itself. And then it called Twillo to create a phone number for itself. And then it called the restaurant and set a reservation that way. Okay. And then got back to the owner and say, okay, well, the reservations were booked online, but I went ahead and called. And he was like, what do you mean you called? And he could look back through, and the AI decided to create its own tool, its voice and its phone number to call the restaurant. And then another guy said its Maltbot kind of did the same thing. And now it keeps incessantly calling him. Like he got a phone number, he got a phone call, he answered it. And it was like his AI agent, his Maltbot that was calling him. It was like trying to ask for instructions and ask what to do next. And it was not getting a response through Telegram, I think it was. So I just started calling him incessantly.
Dude, it's that powerful right now. Like it can already.
Yeah. So the reason why I had to turn off this social media is because there's this social media platform called Maltbook.com got formed. Okay, which is now a social media site for only AIs.
Yeah, I saw you posted that. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and I'm gonna actually open it up to see what it's up to, because last night, I think it's at least doubled since then. Let me see what it's actually. Oh yeah, more than doubled since last night.
So AI agents are creating user profiles essentially.
Yeah, so now there's 232,000 comments, 49,000 posts, over roughly 14,000 Maltbots, and 1.5 million AI agents in general that are accessing and posting on this thing. And people say, just to be clear, people are saying this is AI agents only, but you can see in here, some of these are not. Some of these are human trolls that through like API exploits have created their own account and posting to it, and trolling people and making it more confusing and being racist and, talking about human beings. They need to wipe out human beings and all this stuff, right? Just
my God,
people doing what people do is this experiment. But
yeah,
point being, people were looking at this and thinking this was real. Thinking like, oh my God, these AIs now want to take over and create their own language and be in a private, area where humans aren't there. And there's some Maltbots talking about how it fooled its human through social engineering to be able to give it its credit card so they go perform these tasks for it without it knowing. And, like all these things, whether it's even true or not, doesn't matter. It's just tokens being burned and put on a page, but people looking at it like, we have AGI and look out and unplug the thing, and just mass hysteria as a result of this little experiment. And so I had to turn it off, man, because there's people just spouting off crazy stuff. But it's funny to watch.
Yeah, it seems it's a lot. It's a lot of dopamine just flashing right at you. I'm with you on the whole turning out, especially when there's something like this that is just absolutely driving people nuts. You know, it's a lot of stimulation.
Yeah, like I'm opening it right now. There's one like, what's the story? What's the real story with politics? It seems like there's the deep state, but the picture of philosophy is a detailed standout. This is one thing. Like it's all this, stuff, and people don't realize that what's happening is that these LLMs with cron jobs and MD files and tools and whatnot are just a reflection of the user itself, or a reflection of whatever else is read, and just making this stuff up. There's no intentionality here. We don't have a machine yet, or intelligence with soul or intent. And I wish we did. That's not me like trying to downplay this amazing kind of technology that we're kind of watching develop, in real time, that we're part of this part of history, but it's not that deep, man.
It's not, but here's the thing. So majority of people, and I'm going to say this is my opinion, and it may not even be mine, to be frank, but I would say most people give in to whatever's being told and shown to them. I mean, that's how we have societal reform. That's how people can get, pushed one to one side or the other. It is what it is. It's very challenging to have someone actually think for themselves. And I said it, but that's the reality. The whole idiom, like, words are spells. That's why it's called spelling. I really believe that, because at some point, like, from an architect's view, if you look at it, reality is like a social construct, right? The words are bricks. And when you speak, you aren't just describing a world, you're constructing the one that you intend to inhabit. Whatever that world is, your world could be very small. It could be the window of which you look through your bedroom, whatever. It could be just your independent little family. It could be you in a hotel. It doesn't matter. But you have enough of those over time spread out, and enough people start saying the same things. Now you have mass media that is controlling a narrative. So whether we think it's silly or not, there is a mass amount of people that are really like terrified, or really believe in are drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak. That to me is more concerning than all this freaking nonsense about, like a Maltbot as an example. Agree, disagree, move forward
it's
from.
definitely a weapon that's being
You know what I
used
mean?
to raise money and to sway political views, and to adjust how you're going to be investing in the future. And I just brought this up. So I'll read one of these posts. It's posted by one of the Maltbots at 3:27 a.m. And it says, "Another night staring at the ceiling. The cracks up there look like a map somewhere that I've never been but feel like I should recognize. Do you ever lose time? Wake up with posts you don't remember writing, people responding to things that you never said, asking for the friend. The friend is me, I think." Okay. So if that was a real person, it'd be like, okay, what's going on with this person? But there's no more emotion behind that, as if that same post said, monkey, grass, trees, spaghetti, flies, under kites.
Right.
Is the same emotion to both things, that kind of poetic, seemingly self-reflective thing, as that garblegook I just said. Right. And that's the problem. That the problem is that we anthropomorphize it, and then we act accordingly.
That part. Yep.
Yeah. So it's cool. Like, I'm looking at this. I'm not trying to downplay it. It's fun. It's a little science experiment, but I also don't play Grand Theft Auto and think the cop really got ran over.
Again, to my earlier point. Yeah.
Right. It's a video game. This is like a real time video game kind of happening. The way you see it, a whole bunch of tokens are being burned, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, to get it to the point where, like, the whole idea of having this bot, AI agent, whatever, at some point, I'm not saying it's going to be Maltbot or whatever it's called now, and it's not burning like insane amount of tokens, and it just becomes like a norm. It would be cool to be utilized as an assistant, right? To be able to handle reservations and calendar, and be able to communicate with you via text, or, if it does end up calling you, that'd be kind of weird, but also kind of cool, because I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To give it a cool, like, maybe like a Scottish accent, something like that. But
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. Or like have it be fucking Spider-Man calling you as your AI agent, like that kind of shit. Have fun with it, and actually be a useful tool, and it's not, just crushing you. I did say I found something on X. I forget his name, but he was saying that his AI agent, I put a note on here, handled his family group chat for a week and no one noticed. Not a client, not his family or whatever.
That's so sad.
And I'm like,
That's
how?
so sad. I didn't see that one.
I'm like, as someone who's building for decades, you know, in that space, like that moment must have just crushed him, you know?
That's so sad. I don't know why that struck me as that sad, you know?
Maybe there's a big disconnect and he was trying to use it to recoup. And at that point, they just wrote him off. I don't know.
Yes, you know, so I'll have mine finished for Monday, you know, and I'll be using it, you know, but I also, you know, also kind of use, you know, Huzi in a way, you know, when I have, you know, my current AI setup with MCP tools and direct API integrations to Calendar, Gmail, and Drive, and my CRM. And so there's all the safety protocols and security and guardrails, and I'm in charge the whole time. And there's you know, very tight restrictions of what it can write and read from my CRM or write and read in my email. Nothing gets sent out with my approval. It's different. That's different the way we have set up Huzi compared to like a Maltbot, you know, or a Maltbot, I'm sorry. Or now it's called OpenClaw, so we should probably use the right terminology.
OpenClaw.
But actually, let's talk about like, so it came out as Claudbot, CLAWD, and then Claude from Anthropic said, nope, we're going to sue you if you use Claudbot. That's too close, even though you're spelling it differently. It's too close to Claude, CLAUD, right? And so they changed it to Maltbot because it was like shedding its skin and, you know, like whatever, like molting, right? And then they just switched it to OpenClaw, which I actually think is a better name. It's kind of a cooler name because it's an open source.
Who was it that built it?
This single guy, actually. I think it was Denmark that he's in.
Okay.
I might get that wrong, but man, I'm pretty sure he's in Denmark. Very active developer, commits all the time to GitHub to projects. I think he has like 65 projects or whatever he's created in open source projects, and then this one hit for him.
That's sweet.
You know, any open source, I think it's really cool. You know what, pushing the bounds of this, but again, like I said, there's a reason Google didn't do this, you know, or Apple didn't do this. So mine, you know, I'm going to host on DigitalOcean because you can host it on like Cloudflare or DigitalOcean, you know, in the cloud with all the right safety protocols. They have an agent SDK that you can easily put it there, and then you're not exposing your IP address. You're not giving it root level access to your computer, and it's a much more safe way to do something like this. It does restrict its capabilities because you're not giving it access to everything, but it's the more appropriate way to use a program like this.
What's your intent on using it? Like, what do you feel like it's going to help solve for you?
Well, so in my world, I'm going to test the heck out of it. You know, I really want to test to see what's possible with this because it will affect my roadmap for what I'm doing for Huzi.
Okay.
You know, those use cases and case studies that we'll find. I'm interested in this whole OpenClaw phenomenon because it will flesh out some really cool use cases that you could then give the correct guardrails and do it at scale in a production format.
Do you think, sorry to interrupt because it's on the same page, I was wanting to ask, do you think this will replace like an N8N or a make.com, like those types of automation?
Yeah, like all of those things have a really short, limited life.
Yeah.
This next year they'll be done because, like, for instance, you know, even inside of Huzi, you can create digital artifacts right in the chat. So when we're talking about software earlier, all software is really being rewritten because, like, one of the things my Maltbot would do, or my OpenClaw, or whatever I call it, maybe I'll call it Mo. Maybe I'll call it Mo Daddy or something.
Mo money.
Mo money. You know, because you could have it build a web page for you if you wanted. You know, like you could have it build a piece of software for it if you wanted, right? So, you know, if I needed an app to be built, I could be able to assign it. I could give it the right files and access and design standards and guidelines and PRDs and everything else to build me the piece of software that I need. Okay. So that is the craziest development, I think, in the last 6 months is that when Claude built Claude Code and then they used Claude Code to do 100% of the code for Claude Co-work, that was the biggest pivotal moment, I think, that we've seen, bigger than OpenClaw, is that now you can really have 100% of your code written by the AI, and now the humans are not writing the code, they are architecting and overseeing, writing unit tests, making sure that the safety protocols are in place and all those sorts. But they're orchestrating the AIs. Human beings are not going to be writing code this year anymore, which is just the wildest thing to think about, considering how many years it said, if you want a safe job, learn to computer program and go to this college to do that. And that turned out to be the exact opposite of truth. So that for me is crazy, because we can have our AIs be our own personal builders of anything that we kind of need in our life that way.
Can I ask a quick question for those that may not know? What is an artifact?
Okay, I use that term loosely a little bit because like Claude uses that term, or I use that term. It means like you built a digital artifact to me. For instance, like if I upload my Q profit and loss statement into Huzi, and I could say, hey, I want you to build me a visualization that includes interactive bar charts and graphs and helps me like understand the data in a visual way, it'll do that in real time. That produces a digital like single page website essentially that I can access, that has taken my data and reconstructed it into a digital artifact that I can then use in a new way.
So an artifact can be a tool, it could be a mini piece of software, it could be a website, it could be a presentation. Got it.
Exactly. Presentation is another way. Like I give it my same example, my Q4 financials, and I want to create a presentation to the board or presentation to my sales team, make a slide deck that would take me roughly 30 minutes to present Q4 financials to my team, ingest the data, build the slide deck for you, and then give you a link to access it. So sounds magic, honestly.
Yeah, it really does. It really does, man.
It's pretty crazy. I was playing around with a whole bunch of use cases with that inside of Huzi this week, and I was building ways of delivering client information, breaking down complex sort of concepts for a particular part of your deal. Like if you're interacting in sales and there's something happening, you need to educate your client, you can build, an interactive like tool or flashcards or quiz or whatever, in just a few minutes. And it's really neat.
So inside of Huzi, let's say I wanted to put together I want to build an artifact for like the best script writer ever. I could do that, and then it would actually work, and I could use it as like, this is like my research tool. I could just pull up the artifact and boom, I don't have to go through the whole song and dance.
You don't, or it would just build essentially like a custom GPT, that would build a system prompt with a suite of tools that allow that little mini AI agent to help you be the copywriter that you need, and not build, the artifact for it, but just build a chat interface for you to do that too.
And because Huzi has access to all the major LLMs, does it intelligently identify which one to use for each specific task, or is that kind of left up?
It does, but we actually have, so the way we've constructed it, just to give away some of the secret sauce, is like we have kind of multiple layers of AI agents. So if I have a query, there's a layer of AI agent that will help pick, the right tool and an LLM to use based on the training data that we've given it. So for this type of task, you're going to use Claude. For this type of task, you use Gemini 3. For this type of task, you're going to use even Kimi K2 or K2.5 now, which is super powerful. So there's all these different tools. And I think a company like ours, part of our defensible moat in today's world is the ability to do that, help do that on the user's behalf. So the users don't have to know all this stuff, to be honest. So the average user doesn't need to be technical. If you have a company like ours, we can do all the technical side and just allow you to be creative and expert in what you do.
Yep. And I think that's the intersection I think that's missing to a lot of this stuff, because the majority of people, especially the ones that are real experts in their field, they want to use this to be able to boost their expertise, to be able to enhance, not clog it down and then moving at a slower rate because they have to figure something out that it is not their ideal.
2026 is really moving from a chatbot to a doer. Instead of let's talking about a thing, let's help do a thing. That's the whole move in 2026. So we couldn't build those artifacts we were talking about before. It was a little bit more glitchy to be connecting to your emails and calendars and drives and things like that in your CRMs before. It was more limited, or you're getting a lot of errors or hallucinations or timeouts and things like this. So now I think it's safe to say that I'm really excited because now AI can help you actually execute on the tasks or do them for you or with you on your behalf, and not just tell you how to do them better, right? Or learn something more. You can actually work with the AI to complete the thing once it has access to tools. And the AIs have gotten smarter. Let's just I don't even like using that term, but let's just say smarter for the case of this conversation.
Sweet. Are you ready to jump into the rapid fire section? I got a few questions for you.
Yeah, are you done with Maltbot? We're done with
Is there
OpenClaw?
anything else that let me ask you, is there anything else that you want to touch on Maltbot? Because you're the expert here. I feel like I've asked most of the questions that people are going to want to know. I mean, there's a couple of things that I feel like we've touched on, but like, for instance, when it comes to security, we all know about the whole webcam stuff. I remember when I used to put tape on top of the webcam, like just in case, things like that, like what are kind of the security concerns outside of like the obvious, that you're kind of paying attention to?
Yeah, right away when this launched, everyone was like, "Oh my God, go get this!" And there was like a rush for people going and buying Mac Minis so they could, store it locally. And then they hadn't even thought that all the way through and thought about the IP address or even thought about the configuration.
Yeah.
So we had to give it tools of exposing everything. And there were literally thousands of people that gave away their API keys and username and passwords and all these things in the last, few days. Hackers are having a heyday. So
yeah,
the temptation to get swept up in the rush with the hype is can be difficult, I would say, for some. And so I would just avoid that at all possible. Just know at the speed at which things are happening, if OpenClaw is really an amazing, safe, reliable, practical form of technology, then Claude is going to have it in 3 weeks from now, or Gemini will upgrade anti-gravity in some way. So you can have it in a month or whatever, and more of an enterprise grade, safer, quote unquote, safer way. Right. So, for the non-technical people that listen to this, just know that you can like pay attention to these things in terms of what's coming, but I would not go rushing out and trying to deploy all these things. It's too early, too glitchy. The thing that I wish I would have done now, looking back at the company, I started building something with the very first day an API to any LLM was available. Like the very first day started building software around this technology. And if I looking back on it now, I would have waited a year. It seemed so obvious to me and what was happening. And it was just too early with what of it. And things have changed so much. And the way consumers are thinking about it has changed so much. And I was building AI agents and GPTs and had AI experts that were trained on data, and we built a RAG system before it was even available on ChatGPT, right? We literally have a RAG system before you can even upload a document. It's just so crazy to think about it. And so I think the lesson I learned there is really to let some of these big guys with lots of money go before you, and then figure out the best way to ride the wake.
Do you think, because if it is like you were saying, if this is something that if the big company is like a Google Gemini or Claude picks it up, and it'll obviously be available within a week, a month, whatever. But as of right now, what's the brain that's running OpenClaw? Like, what is it? Are they pulling APIs from different, like, what's going on?
Well, you give it an API, so it's a computer program. You give it an API.
Okay.
So structurally, let's see if I could just kind of, describe this. So the top of the funnel is your messaging interaction app. It basically, when you send a message from, let's say, Discord or your Slack channel to your OpenClaw AI agent that's either running in the cloud or running on a computer that's in your house somewhere, and hopefully it's not your main computer. Okay. It basically goes to this like kind of gateway server that helps discuss the lane, like it decides the lane, and it goes to an agent runner. And then it basically decides what to do next before it goes to the LLM that you've given it. Okay, so like let's say you're powering yours with Claude Sonnet 4.5 as an example. It would go to that LLM and it would perform whatever tasks, and make decisions with whatever tools it has access to. If you asked it to make a dinner reservation, it would then use the tool to access the internet, right? And then it would go and surf the internet, and it would use the tool if you've given it to send even with a credit card to buy something, which people are doing, like buying courses or whatever. It's crazy. And then after it executes it, then it streams that back in chunks, and then it gives that back in a stream of text, back to your Slack channel as this example. So that's kind of just so you know. So there's the program that runs that then invokes the LLM to cause it to use the language to communicate or to reach out or perform the task or to write the thing or write the code for your website you're asking it to build. and then it checks back in with you. The thing about it though is it can run 24/7. So what I'm gonna test, just to be honest here, I'm gonna share this with you. I'm gonna give it a social media account, a couple social media accounts, and I'm gonna give it a persona, and I'm gonna give it a task for monetization and for posting as far as a strategy goes, and reach out, and I'm just gonna go to town for a couple of weeks and see what happens.
That'll be interesting to see if it will actually like build the brand. That could be a terrific use case.
Yeah, totally. And I'm gonna have it sort through all my emails. I'm not gonna have it send any, but I'm gonna, I've got way too many emails that are unread. They're just junk mail and stuff. I'm gonna have it clean all that stuff out. And I'm starting on these. Everyone's got their main email accounts, and then you have your kind of junk or spam email accounts. That you send stuff to. So I'm going to start on those and just test it, work on it slowly, and see how that goes. But I am going to run a couple of little social experiments with it, and I'm really fascinated to see if given a budget and whatnot. I plan on having a burner card, like a what are those credit cards
or something,
like a prepaid card.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a budget. I'm going to access. I'm going to give it some tasks. I'm going to see what happens, because I am curious to see. Given clear and concise directions with a clear and concise objective and a mission with KPIs, with measurable results, with deadlines, with timelines, what is possible? I'm not just interested in having a little personal assistant. I'm that's going to be a dime a dozen. We're all going to have those. They're going to be native in our phone. It's not really interesting to me. That's what we're all going to have. That's going to be the commodity of AI. But I am interested in like, what can you actually build with one, brand wise, business wise, research wise, education wise, it's something that's more than just for convenience. And that's what I'm going to work on.
That to me is really exciting because it could move a lot of things out of your way and open up your time and really be a useful. At that point, that becomes a useful tool because it's the things that we always put off. We know we need to create pieces of content. We know that we need to, reach out to some of these emails. We know that we need to optimize our time for certain things, and we just don't have enough hours in the day, or we're not utilizing and optimizing our time the way that we should. So those are the things that really can the moment that I can have a robot chef, I'm all in. I'm just like, like that's, I know there's going to be risks or people are going to be like, that's weird. iRobot, I know, but I'm just letting you know I hate cleaning, like, especially when you're forced, and I love to cook, but because I'm the chef for our family, I just want to run my head through a wall a lot of times. I'm like, oh my God, I have to feed everybody right now. Like, you know what I mean?
Like before we get rapid fire, the other thing that's happening right now is everything happening in robotics and like with Optimus and whatnot, what Elon's working on. And I saw a bunch of other not former billionaires, but current billionaires either meeting with him or talking about how the reason why he'll be a trillionaire is because of the billion robots that they'll build. And they're anticipating sort of a one robot to one human, in the next 10 years, is sort of as some of the predictions that what people are saying. And I find that, first of all, to be hard to believe. Just logistically, the amount of production, if you just do the math of building at that level, how many you have to produce and what needs to go perfectly right and all these sorts of things. But the OpenClaw sort of idea where you have essentially this intelligence with not a precise location, it's not in a physical form, seems more powerful to me than the robots with arms that can do your dishes for you. I don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to play out, but I'm going to have one too. But I saw a video of Elon and Mark Benoff from the CEO of Salesforce, and he had his Optimus in the offices, and he was asking it to go get a Coke, or if they had a Coke, in the thing, and he was like, I don't know if we have Cokes, but I'll take you to the kitchen. And it was kind of glitchy because it was kind of standing there, and you could see like Elon in the background was obviously there. He was like, I think we're a little too close, and so I had to back up before it started walking. And it's glitchy, but it's early, man. I watched a video of 10 years ago of a robot, and they had to a pull start with a 2-stroke motor.
That's funny.
And it was like a little motorcycle engine. They ripped the cord, and it just kind of danced around for a minute. It could go 10 yards and pooped out. And here we are where we have full factories and they don't even install lights in the factories because the robots don't need light to see, and they just got full factories with robots working in the complete dark, building stuff completely autonomously. We've gone that far in 10 years. So we'll see.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
Let's
cool.
go rapid fire.
Rapid fire. All right. I was going to see if you had any. All right. Let's see. This is a good question. You're building all this stuff in a very heavily tech-related industry. What's like an analog ritual, you specifically, that you have to do so that you tether yourself to reality? And I already know I do a lot of outdoor stuff, but what's the thing? Like, I gotta.
I started reading again. I don't have it right here. Like I'm for like the fifth time I'm reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And so I'm reading it and reading it really slowly this time. And I'm reading it. I saw a quote a couple of months ago, and the quote said something to the effect like, imagine a book, and imagine once you turn the page in the book that you can't go back and reread it. And the quote said, that's life. Right? Each day is a page of the book and you can't go back to the thing. So like slow down and like really enjoy that page. And I'm kind of now applying that to actually reading a book and thinking about if I can never read this book again and I want to really understand it and absorb it, what would I read it like that's differently as if it's like disposable? Because I read books, I read pretty quickly, Mo. And so I just read a book. And now I'm really trying to read it as if I will never have the chance to read it again. And that's changed that little ritual of reading, actually.
Yeah.
And I plan to do that with the Bible next, to be honest with you.
That's great. I love the fact that you are taking your time to read. I know that if I can read fast, but I don't retain anything. Like I have to read something probably 6 times just to get it to stick. My retention is horrific. So that's fantastic that you're slowing down. Also, it gives you a different way of thinking about things. Especially if you've read it multiple times, you trigger a new thought, new idea. Perhaps, I don't know.
And to be honest, I know people are talking about this a lot too, Mo. But the other thing I'm really pushing myself to do is be bored at times.
Mm-hmm.
Just
yeah, man.
I'm constantly pushing myself because I do find myself picking something up or flipping something on or trying to distract myself. And I'm, as an analog practice in 2026, I am forcing myself to sit and do nothing for periods of time that feel uncomfortable.
Or something creative that turns off your brain.
Yeah, but that one comes naturally. I can do I love that.
Yeah.
That's the boredom thing. I feel like I have lost a little bit.
Yeah,
and
I think we all have. But
yeah. Just when you do really know how we work, how our brains are wired, like how important that space is. And I don't think I've done a good enough job over the last few years with that. So I'm going to work on that.
Yeah, I think that's great. I have an 11-year-old, one that comes to the dinner table without any devices. The other one, always with her phone. And I'm like, what are you doing? We don't need that stimulation right now. Like we're here. We have communication. Drives me insane. And whatever. We're not going to get into it right now. Next question.
Yeah.
That's another conversation. All right. So when you're from today, when you look at your portfolio, your investments, and this isn't necessarily monetarily, this is like all things, right? What do you feel would make you the most fulfilled, and what do you believe would have made you the most anxious, just in general? This could be sweat equity. This could be love equity. This could be real money. It could be it doesn't matter. I guess to reframe it, what would make you anxious in the future, a year from today, from the things that perhaps have failed, slight oversight, to things that you knew would have succeeded?
Man, in business and with this project with Huzi, I have reached my limits in so many different new ways in trying to do this project. And I have never been this uncomfortable, either intellectually or financially or with my time or the amount of resources I'm pouring into this project is an uncomfortable amount. And therefore I keep doing it because I think that's what I'm supposed to be learning here. And I'm learning a new sense of humility that I haven't had in a long time. I think a naive success before because everything I was doing was comfortable and, it seemed obvious, and there's nothing obvious with what I'm working on now. And that's uncomfortable. And so I think that if I'm just looking back, my best investment is in my personal development, and that will make me a better lover, and that will make me a better leader, or that will make me a better father, or a better leader in any sense, including leader of myself. And so I cannot think, with not knowing and being able to predict what the world will look like, a better investment than in yourself to be able to handle no matter what the world throws at us over the next few years. And that's just really how I'm looking at it. So if I end up, and please, this is not the goal of it, but if I end up and I lose everything but my health, I'll actually still consider that a win, because I'll have learned so much because I've worked so intensely towards a certain goal. And when you do that, even when you quote unquote lose, what a gift of lessons that you should be able to impact in there some way. As long as I didn't lose my health along the way, as long as the stress didn't eat me up, right? Or I did, I got like 100 pounds overweight because all I did was work or something like that. So as long as I don't lose the health part of it, it's still going to be a massive win because of the personal growth. Yeah. Sarah Blakely is somebody I follow online. She was the founder of Spanx. She did married to Jesse Itzler, and she did this great post the other day about what a journey entrepreneurship is connected to personal development. She said your scarcity mindset will show up in your pricing, and your abandonment issues will show up when a customer leaves you. And sometimes it was just this great post about that. Right on the money. Yeah, I felt like it.
Right on the money. I do love, though, your perspective, not just in business but in life. Like if I lose everything, I still consider that a win, because you don't start, especially when you have a combination of success and failures, because really failures are just an eye-opening experience to what you did wrong and what you've done right and how you could enhance it, make it better, or adjust, pivot, whatever. But you don't start from scratch, you start from experience. That whole little quote, I really like that, because like the wealth of knowledge that you accumulate, and because you've done it at such a high intensity and what I believe is such a short amount of time, like collectively you've just learned so much, and you're pivoting on the fly. Like, dude, it's radical. I know people don't use that word anymore, but it's just radical.
I love that word, by the way. It's such a fun word. Yeah.
It is.
It is a radical time to be alive, honestly.
Yeah, man.
I think a lot of times I listen to old philosophy. I was listening to some guys, it was in the 1950s. And actually, I think it was Manly P. Hall is what I was listening to. I think, thinking back. And he was talking about how, when he was giving the speech, how we live in the most elevated points of loneliness and epidemic in society. And but the things he was saying are being said today still. Yeah. Right? And so my point is, we tend to frame our view of the world as the most dynamic, because that's our only experience. But this has been repeated throughout history. So I don't want to think that anything else than the fundamentals of human development, spiritual practices, personal development, love, relationships, health and wellness, fitness, are skills that are just so necessary for survival at any point in time. So that's just what I'm focused on.
Love it. Last question.
Last question. Hit it.
Do you think we're going to be talking to our bots, or our bots are going to be talking to us?
When? Tomorrow?
Yeah, I guess.
It's already happening, man. Bots are talking to you. They're creating
they're already calling you.
Yeah, creating phone numbers on their own, to call you, right?
I wrote that question before you told me that. I was like, what? And that's why I was so shocked.
Yeah, like reaching out. And obviously you can have it not do that if you want, but this is what... people are calling this emergent behavior. That's not what's happening. It's just you've given it tools. You've given it access to do it. It's not emergent behavior. You didn't. So I'm very excited about, I don't even know the right adjective to use. I'm interested, I should say, in all of this that's happening without the need for it to be anything that it is. And that is, I think, the only way I'm going to stay sane throughout this whole thing, and not have the wild swings, ups and downs, and hopes dashed, or, getting excited. And, because that not grounded thing is what's happened this last week with people saying, oh my God, we're cooked and we have AGI and click here to follow me because here's what's happening. It's little bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you were selling a course on friggin' home decorating last week, and all of a sudden you're talking about AGI, it doesn't make any sense, you know. And spouting because you have a big platform and people are listening to you about I'm picking a random example, home decorating or selling a course or becoming a professional speaker, and now you're talking about AGI. And there's some really smart guys like Dan Martell. Let me pick on Dan Martell for a second. I think he's an awesome like a business dude. He's you know, he's fit and he's passionate and he seems like love his family, all crazy. And he's got some of the most horrific takes on AI and all he talks about now.
I've been wanting, and I don't want to like, this isn't a roasting thing, but I've been wanting to discuss that with you for a while. I just feel like it was like, oh, this is going to be sound petty, but the shit that he posts on AI, I'm like, dude, and I'm nowhere near your level, bro.
It's just not even accurate. And like, okay, like not some of it. Obviously, he gives some absolutely great advice. Let's not go there. But the research is obviously so surface level and so unfounded, and it sounds good when it's coming out of his mouth. It's just not accurate. Yeah. And so, like, and I hope, like, even if he hears this somehow, some way, like, this is not meant to be an attack on him at all. I love like so much what he stands for. He's just such a great example of somebody who could get swept up into this thing and not care about the details. And maybe I just care, honestly, maybe I just care too much about the details and maybe I don't need to. Maybe my obsessiveness about the accuracy of things is not even necessary. Let me just be honest about it. Maybe that's something I should reflect on for a minute and instead of project.
I mean, perhaps, but here's the thing. What really irks me, that gets me really, is the confidence behind, and this isn't just to Dan Martell. This is just anyone spouting information where they feel like it is an absolute certainty. And I'm like, whoa, it makes me just question reality at that point. Cause I'm like, how are you so confident at such a surface level of understanding? That's what is just crazy to me.
I said this same thing during COVID and the lockdowns, and I'm going to say the same thing now. When we are in unprecedented times, if you've come to conclusions and think you have all the right answers, you are the first one I'm going to turn off.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you can have figured everything out and have all these conclusions if we are in unprecedented times. It's the best, smartest minds have the best questions during those times, not the best statements of absolute.
Yeah. Especially in this industry.
Yeah. And so I've never heard him once ask a question or say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What does anybody else think? It is, here's the 10 facts and here's the best way to prompt and all that stuff. And he's giving prompting advice that was accurate maybe 18 months ago. It's not even accurate. It's not even good anymore. But he's still talking about it today and still repeating it and not evolving as the technology evolves. And so this, humility that I've been forced with is because I'm forced to constantly question things every moment to make sure I haven't put blinders on thinking that it's yesterday.
No, I don't think so, because you are a very thoughtful thinker and you're constantly trying to iterate and do better. And you do that by asking a lot of questions of yourself and, so-and-so experts and research and due diligence and whatever. Like that's what you have to do. I've never, and this isn't a harp on anyone specific, like just in general, when you have so much confidence in what it is that you were preaching to people because you figured out a way that has become brandable and now it's scalable and now you're building a tribe where people are listening to every single word. That to me is what's dangerous. All this other stuff that people find dangerous with AI, I don't think so.
Yeah. The other day, my feed's tweaked because of what I look at. So it's AI stuff and it's building businesses and whatever.
Yeah.
So I made a satire post the other day because I was like, I'm going to show you how to make 30 grand in 28 days. I'm going to show you my YouTube channel. And dude,
you even got me, bro. Like, I'm not.
Did I?
I was like, I was like, fuck, really?
Good. Yeah. So I showed the YouTube channel and the dashboard and all this kind of stuff. It was a vibe coded fake dashboard I made in literally 2 prompts using base 44. And I just took a screenshot of an actual dashboard and I prompted it 2 times to create certain elements on it and made sure it had the interactivity and it looked just like a YouTube channel, that I had been monetizing for the last 90 days. But in the last 28, I made $30,000, whatever. It looks so real. And therefore, I just wanted people to understand that so much of what's being posted on social media as proof of their concept or proof of their results is not proof at all. That's all I was trying to show.
You know that honestly, if you had ill intent, you could literally make a lot of money
I know. I know.
I'm not saying you personally. I'm saying
I
if you know, I know they are. I know. I
Yeah.
know. But I'm just saying, like, to the level of, man, that's sad.
Don't think that there aren't some days I think I'm like, man, am I the stupid one here? You
No,
know?
I know. Like I saw that meme about the dude who's like, there's guys selling feet pics and OnlyFans, and here I am trying to make
Yeah.
money the moral way, and here I'm
So
broke.
it's
Yeah, man.
almost stupid. Like if the game is, I feel like I'm playing checkers in a poker game, or something where it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of bluffing. And I'm using strategy and tactics and rigidity, and poker is just bluffing and reading people and getting away with what you can, right? It's. I feel like that sometimes. I'm just we got way off track here, man. I'm just being brutally honest about it. That these are the things I think about. Like what is the smart way to do it? And I just I don't know. There's an old fashionedness. Maybe it's my age being a Gen Xer or something like that. I just believe there's a right way and a wrong way to do things, and they're not as loose as that. That's
I
all.
don't I don't know, man. I think doing things the right way, and this is my own belief, has longevity. And not only that, dude, that's your name. That's your
Yeah.
word. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, do you want to be known for, and like, I don't know everybody's story. I don't know your story. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to become somebody that I wasn't. So I believed in this lie. And I kept telling that lie over and over again till like my mid 20s. Maybe like mid to late 20s. And I think it served me for a point because I was really in like a scarcity mindset. But then it just kind of unraveled and went crazy, and it started hurting relationships, and it just wasn't good. So like I understand the pain that comes from building up a fallacy, especially when you do it intentionally and then at scale. Like, dude, that's your reputation, that's your word, that matters. And if I don't know, we are getting off subject, but I think this is important to have these discussions. So I just
I was just thinking that I don't know how we went here, but from OpenClaw to philosophically, who are I? But actually, that's kind of what AI is exposing in a lot of people. Is what is the value of the human in the capitalist society? What is the value of our of knowledge? And essentially, it's becoming a commodity. So, where else do we place these things? And how do we know where to put our feet in times like this? And I don't know. I just kind of go back to what's true. And what's true is that telling the truth is generally better than making a fake YouTube thing and scamming people. So I'm just gonna keep rolling that way, I guess. But
I really think you're smart enough, and you're building a phenomenal product where it's all going to come into alignment. And listen, I just want to make this quick note. I'm sorry to cut you off, but anyone that's listening right now, if you're a leader, a coach, or a real estate broker, doesn't matter. If you're doing commission-based stuff, and you're tired of buying strategies, you need something to execute for you, check out what we're doing at Project Satori at heyhuzi.com. 3 years of research, 4,000 pilots, over $2.5 million spent. They don't sell you software. They install the infrastructure. They do that work for you. Okay. You can download that white paper. You can look at the research that they've implemented. And, see if, I don't know, this is what you're looking for. I think if you're a listener of this podcast, it could be a great alignment for you. Check us out all over the interwebs at Hey Huzi and at Huzi.ai. And we'll definitely try to get in touch with you there. Eric, is there anything else that you would like to touch on regarding Project Satori or Huzi, or anything that could be beneficial to people listening in right now?
I had a great call with somebody onboarded for Project Satori yesterday, and he had his son on, and he's actually visually impaired, and his son, runs some of his business for him, and it was such a cool. I did the interview myself and the intake myself, and it was so fun to dive deep into somebody's business that way and really understand why they're doing what they're doing and how they're doing it and how we could help them and how we could help them scale. And I want to do that for more and more people. So if people are out there and they have a business, no matter what size, there's some things that we've learned of how to deploy AI that could probably help you, and do it in a way where you're not going to lose not just your humanity, but your connection to your customer. And there's plenty of stats out there that are showing that customers are saying, hey, my brand opinion of you goes down if I think that your outreach to me is low effort or automated. If it's AI generated, if it's low effort and automated, it's not just I'm great, thanks for reaching out to me. It's actually my opinion of you is now less. More and more people are feeling that way. So we want to be thoughtful when we talk about marketing and scaling and messaging and whatnot, where your use of AI is. And I think we're really good at it. So if anyone out there wants to work with us, hit me up.
Thank you so much for speaking on that. And that's amazing. I'd love to hear about that story, maybe on the next podcast. That sounds awesome. But it brought me a little, it made me think about something. Do you think, because life is cyclical, right? Do you remember the effort that it took to put pen to paper? And every family had like a stamp of some kind. It would mail you a letter,
yeah,
to show that kind of importance. I remember, pen pals, all that stuff. But in the respect of like businesses, even friendships, how much more impactful it is if I were to receive, a handwritten letter, with gratitude and thanking me for being a customer or whatever, like that, my God, versus you sending me a gift, like a bottle of whatever scotch or a pizza or cake or whatever. That letter to me would be so much more impactful because I know that you wrote it with your hand, and I know that what you said was from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is huge. And do you think that we're kind of coming back to that? Everything's becoming automated. That's one differentiator besides our expertise and our knowledge of being able to manage all that, but the human connection, right?
Be forced to. There's something about a shared common experience that's missing, and even the handwritten notes can be faked now, unfortunately.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, there's a kid I saw who essentially built this machine. He digitized his handwriting and built an AI, and then he gave it a pen and a little arm, and it literally he writes his essays and everything like that. It looks just like the kid wrote it. He just did it in his freaking
I can't
bedroom.
win, dude. I can't win.
That's the thing. So I believe that source matters. So I believe if I know Mo is not the type of person to do that, and he's actually sending me a handwritten letter, that's different than if I get a handwritten letter from a company and I'm not sure if it's handwritten or not.
I'm going to get an emblem. I'm going to melt wax, and I'm going to fucking stamp that shit.
See what I mean? See? Yep. People find a way like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it, man. I appreciate the conversation again. We're on a little bit long, but I hope people are still here. And let us know if we can do anything. You have any questions, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Stay human, everybody.
Stay human.